Hello, everyone, and welcome to Legacy Live. I'm Kiana London, and I'm so glad you're joining us for a conversation about something that has been years in the making, and it's finally becoming a reality. For those new to Legacy Live, this is a space where we share our day-to-day work at Legacy of Hope, we reflect on what we're learning, and we connect with people like you who care deeply about children's healing and well-being. I'm thrilled to be joined by our co-founder and executive director, Marianne, who has spent over a decade building trauma-informed care systems and who carries this particular dream very close to her heart. Marianne, welcome. And before we dive in, for anyone joining us for the very first time, can you give us a quick picture of Legacy of Hope and what drives our work?
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to share with everyone. For those of you that don't know, Legacy of Hope is a safe place for orphaned and vulnerable children. And it is a resource for families who need help to provide the very best and appropriate care for the children that they love. And we have four different programs. We have our Centro de Paso, which is a series of crisis care homes for children who have been rescued from trafficking and abuse and neglect and any kind of violation of their rights. We work directly with the children and youth here in Honduras to do that. We also have children in transitional care waiting for their forever families. We also work in assuring that the places, organizations, government agencies who need training receive the very best trauma-informed training. And then, of course, we have our family preservation program, which comes alongside of families to prevent children from re-entering the system.
We're so excited to show you all how Legacy of Hope is expanding our work. So in this session, we'll talk about, so let me just make sure I can move. There we go. We'll talk about the dream behind Nexo, where the building is, and a bit more about Santa Rosa de Copán, how the development is designed for success, who the project serves most specifically. Matt will map out the Nexo web of connections and how they're being built and share deeply meaningful ways that you all can be a part of this moment. So, Marianne, Nexo has been described as a dream God placed in your heart. Can you take us back? What did you witness over 15 years that led to us to this moment?
Well, for those of you that don't know, I have been living and working in Honduras for 15 years. And both professionally and personally, I had the desire for the children that we serve and the children who live in our home as foster and adoptive children to have the very best interventions and care. And there was a gap for trauma-informed, therapeutic interventions. And it, as I said, was so personal to me because these aren't just case files. These are children that we know and love and care for. This is our community that we know and love and care for. And I just wished that I had access to the kinds of resources that were available to me as a foster parent living in the United States. And both Matt and I struggled with that about the difference that these excellent kinds of resources would make in the lives of the children that we serve.
Mm.
And thanks to a grant from the Huff Day Foundation, we are going to be able to fill that gap.
This is such an exciting place because we're really seeing that the gap that Nexo is creating a bridge between the where we are, the realities of care and and access in Honduras right now and where we can be. I think this moment is a really special and kind of like budding place for Legacy of Hope, but also for our community in Santa Rosa de Copán, also for the country of Honduras and Latin America and all of the Americas and worldwide. We really are solidifying that the therapies and techniques are there, and we really have to bring them to the communities where they're needed most. What you're saying, the matches the statistics that we see globally and what we see in Honduras. So this need is deeply significant. 80% of children with disabilities in low-income countries receive no therapy services at all. 1 in 5 children experiences a mental health condition, and the vast majority are gone untreated. 90% of the population's therapeutic needs in Honduras remain unmet. And this is not a small gap. This is a huge set of the population who, for whatever reason, whether it be sort of unidentified needs, whether it be family structures that don't allow or participate in kind of bringing the best care and best therapeutic services to address their needs, whatever it is that's sort of creating the gap, it's there. And there's such an unmet portion of the population who can be helped and attended to and live more fruitful and beautiful and comfortable lives. So I think that when we see the need, we are also we're called to this work, and the trust that we've built over the amount of time of Legacy of Hope being in the community is so significant. And so it really places Legacy of Hope in the position to open the doors to Nexo. So we are based in Santa Rosa de Copan, Honduras, and can you paint like a little bit of a picture? You've been living there for a while, you're so ingratiated in the community. What is it like to be in Santa Rosa, and where exactly will this therapy center be?
Well, we've been in Santa Rosa 15 years, and I absolutely love our town. I think it's just exactly the perfect size, right? We're not a huge city like the capital or San Pedro Sula, but we do have a very large population, and we are centrally located in a tri-state region. So we are easily accessible within an hour from the Lempira and then also the Ocotepeque states, if you will. We call them departamentos that can easily access Santa Rosa. And the Nexo Therapy Center is actually going in right next to our transitional home. And this will allow the children who we serve, over 250 children per year that receive care and services within Legacy of Hope, to have direct access to Nexo Therapy Center. But the new public entrance will provide the community the ability to access our therapy center without having a disruption in care or breaches in security. Another exciting part about Nexo is that we are making it accessible for any clients or family members that may use a wheelchair. We are making sure that not only the entrance, but also the facilities, the bathrooms are all accessible for any person who may have different kinds of needs. So that is where we are located, both in Honduras and within our town.
I think it's so I just am reflecting on, explaining how the two entrances work, because that is such an important part of the design and really intentional design of the building. Like you mentioned that, we don't ever we can't and would never breach any sort of security with the care of our children, and that the kids in our care have a way, a pathway directly to this space allows them to feel like this is part of the care truly that is helping them heal every day. Um, can you expand, like, even just a little bit more about how those decisions, those building and construction decisions were made? Maybe give us a bit of a construction update on where we are. But I'm just drawn to this question of how do we intentionally create a space that's safe for everyone who enters?
Right. So, great question. The therapy center is actually being built on a portion of land that is right next to the transition house. But we will access it from a lower level. I don't know. I think later we'll show a video where I'll kind of help you make
Yeah.
sense of the space. But there will be a private entrance for the children directly coming from the Centro de Paso, which is our crisis care homes. There will be a private entrance for them to enter the Nexo facilities, and then from the street there will be a public entrance for clients that we are serving from the general community. And once you get inside, we will have a reception area. We will have a specialized play therapy, sound therapy space, which I'm very excited about. We will have a traditional therapy room with really comfy couches and a welcoming atmosphere for parents or adults or teens who feel more comfortable in a space like that. And then that space opens up into our sensory therapy areas. So we have an active space, which allows kids to bump and run and crash, while also regulating themselves. So here we are. Okay, we're going to show the video. So we're going into the active space. In this active space, it shows some jungle gym equipment, which actually we will be having some movable structures that allow us to use the space in a more versatile manner. But you can see how kids can run and jump and experience all kinds of textures. And then we're entering here. This is the calming space. And so you can see just by the shapes of the furniture, by the lights, by just the nature of the room, that it can help children to like calm and regulate their nervous systems. And we know that kiddos who've experienced trauma often have a really difficult time regulating their nervous systems. So this gives us a place where kids, teens, adults can have their nervous systems feeling dysregulated and then practice regulating. And this is such a really important skill that typical children have the opportunity to learn, but children with trauma often have some sensory processing kinds of issues that get in the way. So we're really excited about each of those unique spaces that will help us to serve children and families.
It's so exciting that to hear really about the calming space and what you bring up, that the regulation is not something that is inherent to all of us, and it's something that we learn over time. And we've spoken about this in previous Legacy Live sessions, that, putting for any adult who feels every day pretty well regulated, they even just putting your feet on the ground and taking some slow, deep breaths has a biological impact on the way that we can hear each other better, talk more slowly, understand each other, and communicate ourselves so that we feel like we are connecting with others and being heard and being valued. And I think that I love this calming room because it really is just that sensory input that goes back into a child or teen or adult's brain that says, okay, you're safe here. The design of Nexo is so impressive to me because the message that this building is conveying is that every child, every adolescent, teen, adult, family member, community member, therapist who enters is welcome here in this space and they belong here. And the adaptability of things being movable are highly personalized to each individual who's going to be there. That such a creative approach to how we are able to expand our care at Legacy of Hope.
Yeah, I think just thinking about the word nexo, and it means connection, right? And I think something really important to share is that regulation is not something, or self-regulation is not something that can be done without experiencing co-regulation first. So nobody listening is able to regulate their nervous system without having learned how to regulate their system, co-regulate with a safe parent or partner in life. And so when we talk about these spaces, I want our listeners to understand it's not like, hey, go in the quiet room and get quiet. No, what we're saying is, come with me. Let's calm down here together. Let's
Mm,
have this experience together. And I think another important part that you bring up is that how often do we as adults need some time to just calm our nervous systems? And the fact that our staff has these spaces available for them. We were talking about, one day I took my staff out to the trampoline and we were just doing some like deep input and big body movements that really helped to relieve stress. And we were talking about how many of us will be in this room and jumping around, climbing on the walls, swinging, because it's really therapeutic for anyone to enjoy play, to enjoy moving their body and expressing themselves in ways that feel good. So I'm really excited about the versatile nature of this space. One of the things that I really enjoyed when I did my practicum in Tegucigalpa was working with teen moms and doing some mommy and me time. And so this versatile space allows us to be able to do some mommy and me time, to have new moms with their babies, to have teenagers in the space, but also have toddlers. And so all of this equipment can kind of be moved around and modified for the size of the client or the size of the group that we're serving. So you can see we can do individual therapy, we can do family therapy, we can do group sessions, we can do special needs support, we can work with caregivers, we can work with teachers, we can work with psychologists. And something really exciting is that we can bring in kinds of therapy and trainings that are not readily available, like occupational and physical therapies. So we are so excited to offer this professionally. But I also, Kiana, just want to step back into my role as a mom of children with special needs.
yeah.
I feel on a personal level what it is like to have children who have the need to receive these kinds of intervention and not have access. And
Mhm.
I don't mean, just don't have the resources. I mean, it wasn't available
Yeah.
until now. And this brings hope to families who often feel shamed.
Yeah.
This brings a safe space to families who have felt that they needed to hide.
Mm.
And I'm really, really excited, again, going back to Nexo and the connection is helping families connect to say, you're not alone. And we are here to equip you, to support you, to empower you. And
Mm.
together, we're going to see progress.
That's such a beautiful sentiment and a field, a very lived experience for you and your family. And I think that it it builds again this trust um, that has developed over time, and that takes time to develop. But where you are, and Legacy of Hope in this community has become a safe haven and an ex with an expertise that is also very trusted and relied upon. I mean, having worked with you for almost 2 years now, Marianne, you're one of the most compassionate people that I know. And I think that that is felt through every through line of Nexo being created, the intentionality, the breadth of what we offer, even just building the design of Nexo based on the 5-point child development plan, which is so core and critical to our day-to-day care work. Every facet of how this is coming together has really shown that for families who have felt like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, that there really is, that in fact, the family, the way that it's created and the children that they're attending to are the light. We can be the light because there are folks in our community who dedicate their entire life to understanding how to make it better for the next person, the next family, and the next child. And so it's really with such a deep gratitude to you and to Legacy of Hope and to every part of this community that comes together for being so both vulnerable and compassionate, and at the same time so knowledgeable and understanding that every child that walks through these doors and every family is having the top tier, most excellent care that is found not only in Honduras but globally. I think it's incredibly impressive. And so I think we holding the space for that is so important. And for the whole team that's working on this, we are in such a space of gratitude to our experienced team. They often go through different levels of training to just upskill and continue to improve their work. We have caregivers who are just attentive to our children around the clock. And can you explain, like, even a little bit more about sort of how our team is so well equipped to make this expansion possible?
Yeah, sure. So one of our core values is excellence. And often in working in developing nations, there's this kind of sentiment where it's like, it's good enough. But at Legacy of Hope, we really believe at working at a level of excellence at the level of the world, right? The
Yeah.
very, very best. So whatever is happening in the most developed nations, whatever is the best practice, we want to be doing that. We want to be providing that. So it has been a personal mission of mine to make sure that my team is receiving the very best trainings, that they have access and are able to do the very best kinds of interventions for children who have experienced trauma. It's part of why I sought my master's degree so that I could make sure that we were always using the very best interventions and that we were not just implementing therapies, but we were doing it with cultural sensitivity
Mhm.
in a way that is meaningful and um, efficient for the community that we serve. And additionally, something else that has just really impacted me in such a profound way is this component of connection and safety. And so we can only heal when we are connected to safe people
Mhm.
and we have this sensation of safety. And so our caregivers are all TBRI trained. They know how to help our children regulate their nervous system. This is something that we're going to be able to pass on to families in our community. It is something that we practice, as you know, within our own team,
Yes.
right? So, caring for ourselves and caring for each other impacts how we show up and are able to care for the children that we serve. And we also want to be able to extend that to families who are raising children with special needs or are struggling with disabilities and don't have the resources. But we also want to show up for those educators and professionals in our community who don't have access to all of these kinds of trainings and best practices, to make sure that, and as you know, this has been a calling and a mission of mine, is education is power. So yes, inside Legacy of Hope, we are putting into practice this level of excellence, but we also want to be able to equip our community
Mhm.
and these departamentos and our nation to
Yeah.
show up and to use the best practices as well.
I think that's like fantastic, this bridge. I switched the slides because I think we're really in this bridge between what we do and how we do it and who we do it for, including ourselves. And the as our viewers will notice that it's a bold statement, but I think we have to sit with it for just a moment that, again, you belong here with us. And that's a promise. That's both a promise, it's a dedication, and it's a way that we live each day being a part of this organization. And I think I am curious to ask you a question that I think is very close to your heart, but also a part of some of the larger challenges that families face, because Nexo, especially for children, is for every child who's either been told explicitly or implicitly that they don't belong. And I'm curious if you have any specific stories from your own life or from the clients that you've worked with about a set of parents raising children with special needs. And what will Nexo mean for them? And how will we better serve their stories?
Yeah. Um, I think that this is kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because there's this one side that's just really painful, and then there's this other side that's really hopeful. So I do want to share, that I have had my children enrolled in schools here in the community where I was told this school is not the place for your child. We can't we can't educate a child that has special needs, or these behaviors. You know, we can't accept a child that has these kinds of behaviors, sensory seeking, or difficulty with speech, or slow motor development. Um, and as a parent, to be told that your child doesn't belong here is so painful. And for me as a Westerner, right? Like, and I think probably people that are listening are like, oh, you take that to the top. You go talk. And
Definitely.
that's definitely a Western way to
Mhm.
respond. But the truth is that this is a different culture.
Mhm.
And there aren't the same resources. There aren't the same compassion or empathy or understanding. There's a stigma. And the way that we often are forced to protect our children is to
Mhm.
isolate them. And when we are forced to isolate our child to protect them, we also become isolated.
Yes.
And for any parent out there who is struggling with difficult behaviors or disabilities, you know that it takes a village, and having people around you that can encourage you, can understand you, can be a shoulder to cry on sometimes is so, so important. And so, coming from my experience as a parent and being told your child doesn't belong here,
Mhm.
and feeling that means not only do they not belong there, but I don't belong here.
Yeah.
And now having a place where I'm saying, you belong here.
Yeah.
And I want to welcome you with open arms. And not only do you belong here and you're welcome here, but you are going to receive hope here. You are going to be equipped here. You don't have to hide here. There are things that we can celebrate here that maybe outside they won't understand as a celebration, but for us it is. And that's such a joy to be able to come alongside families that I know are suffering, children who I know feel ostracized, and to allow them to experience what it's like to be included and wanted and celebrated.
Oh, it's beautiful, this web of connections. It really reinforces back into the center, not only its physical space, which is so powerful in the way that we've reviewed just how it's built and all the intentional decisions that have been made, but also the feeling of Nexo. And I think that the emotional creation as well helps therapists, children, families, community to then connect back to the idea and the real sentiment that you have a network, you have a safety space, you have the resources and really the necessary comforts that come along with different and just challenging aspects of either living with disabilities or having a child and being a caregiver for any kid, adolescent that needs um, just a higher tuned and finer quality approach to therapeutic care. I think that this ecosystem is so important because not only are the branches going out to each of these circles here, and one being our core mission, but in between those connections, there's one between the therapist and child. There's one between the therapist and the community. There's one between families and the child, or families and the therapist. And so this really is an interconnected web that just kind of illuminates that even if you've heard over and over that you're not welcome or that you're alone or have been driven in so many ways to be increasingly isolated, this is a space where that's not going to happen. And this, yeah, I really I'm very excited just to see like how things unfold, how every next page of Nexo is turned, and how the therapies evolved and therapists become more empowered in using the practices that they've spent many, many years developing. Um, and I really appreciate the way that you talk about relationships, and both relationships not happening in isolation, but also regulation and co-regulation and learning. Our learning is such a, experiment and feedback loop, an experiment and feedback loop. And we're constantly seeing, if we behave this way, try this thing, what comes back when it is something that's so thoughtful and loving, um, kind of then helps us to either make a different connection with somebody else and bring them along. And that's what we would like all of you to do, is hearing this and hearing this set of just the dynamic way that Nexo is developing in real time, that you share about it with your therapist friends, with your friends who have kids with special needs, really with any person who is willing and excited to listen to and be involved in sort of the ways that we can build stronger, more sustainable, more solid and loving communities that are centered on compassion. I think so. Because we're sort of at this midpoint in the session and we only have an hour together, um, if you have any questions and you are participating right now, as we've talked about things and presented ideas and theories, if you have any questions, to share them in the chat, because we would love to interact with you and see, what is sparking in your brain about Nexo. And then I'll keep us moving. So if you write them down, we'll come back to them at the end of the session. So please do write any comments, questions, feelings, thoughts, follow-ups, whatever you would like in the chat. And we are really excited to come back to them. Um, and so there it is. Any questions? Okay, add them to the chat. We are really excited if you've brought anyone new to Legacy of Hope tonight. You'll be entered as part of a prize. So we'll choose you as a prize. So also let us know if you're here for the first time. And we're just excited to continue building our community at Legacy of Hope and getting to know you because again, along this theme of connections, this is a two-way street. We're a foundation who provides services and love and education, training and care, and we are so empowered by the engagement and the dedication of our broad and diverse community. And so we want to hear from you. And this is a continued space where you can partner with Nexo. Our doors will open in September, which is so exciting. It's actually not so far away, and we would love for you to be a really foundational and deep part of this partnership and this development. So some ways that you can get involved are sponsoring a therapist salary. This is really important to ensure that a qualified full-time therapist can serve children and families at Nexo. And we've already seen an example of this making a huge difference in the way that we work at Legacy of Hope, really knowing that the job is secure and that the therapist is respected for their time and valued properly and don't need to feel vulnerable in any way is so crucial to the work that we do every day. You can sponsor therapy for a child, which is really exciting that one of the children in our community who may not be able to afford care or access and hope, they are able to continue on their journey of healing. And Marianne, I would love for you to talk a little bit about our Amazon wish list. This is really exciting because Nexo will need equipment that is appropriate. How did that begin and what may people find on our Amazon wish list?
Yeah, so while the physical structure will be built here and the big foamy kinds of equipment will be there, there are some kind of specialized toys and things that we are asking for. So if you go to our Amazon wish list, and this is the first time I've ever done an Amazon wish list, so it's kind of like Christmas, it's kind of exciting. You will find a lot of sensory toys. So special swings that allow a body to feel hugged or compressed in a way that is regulating. You will see special kinds of lights and light tables and toys that have different kinds of textures. You will see some books that are in Spanish. It's really, really hard for us to find good books in Spanish that we can use for therapy. So to stock our library, you will see weighted blankets and weighted toys. And if you see something on the Amazon wish list and you're wondering, hey, what is this? Or this looks a little bit strange, or feel free to go ahead and send me an email or drop me a text, and I would love to share with you about all of the things that we have on the list and how we will use them in therapy. So check out the Amazon wish list and help us to prepare our rooms to be able to provide the therapeutic treatment with all of the bells and whistles.
I think that communicating about if you have any questions on what an item is so such a lovely learning space too, because Marianne has developed her knowledge through her master's and through just practical use of all of these different toys and books and equipment or movable things or sensory things in a way that everything has a purpose. And so, genuinely, if you are curious about something, please reach out. And always please keep us in your prayers, for we need wisdom, provision, and the capacity to really guide and walk alongside the families who will be entering Nexo. So please pray for us and pray for the growing population that will have be positively impacted by this work. And we're in a Legacy Live session, but if you're curious about anything else we've talked about, kind of the foundations of how we work, why we do the things we do, and different types of themes that are extremely important to the work at Legacy of Hope, take a look at our YouTube page. We are on our fifth Legacy Live, so you have 4 other videos that you can enjoy there. And I do see that we have a question. So before we open to questions, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can see who's asking what. I really just want to say from all of us at Legacy of Hope that we're so grateful for you believing in our work and staying present with us as we continue to grow and expand our place of healing, connection, growth, and hope. So thank you so much. We're going to open it up. I just need to, oh, at the bottom here, again, just you can schedule one-on-one with Marianne. We can chat about Amazon wish list. You can always reach us. So we are so available to you. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Let's hope. Marianne, if you can see the,
I can. So the
okay.
question says, with all of the exciting spaces and services the center allows you to provide, how many new slash additional therapists or staff do you anticipate needing in the coming year? Do we have a goal? This is a really great question. So we currently have 2 therapists, psychologists on staff, and they will continue to serve the 250 children that we see annually, and they will have access to the Nexo space. We are hiring, have already the contract ready, and have our newest therapist in trainings right now. She actually worked with us and moved to Guatemala, worked on her master's, and is back with Legacy of Hope. So really excited. She'll be starting in July. And the goal is for her to see eventually 5 clients a day. So that's 25 a week. And then that would be 100 new clients per year. If we could max out her schedule, that's what it would look like. So 5 clients a day or 5 sessions a day, and then 25 a week. And then, of course, that is 100 for the month. So that is our first goal. We also are looking to hire a part-time cleaning person, because those mats and everything will need to be wiped down and sanitized. So that is an additional position. We are looking at having a volunteer to hire that to be able to fill that position initially as we sort of ramp up and get going. And I also would like to add that thanks to a generous donor, we do have the majority of the salary covered for our program administrator and director. So we are excited to welcome Flor Gomez, who you may have seen on our webpage before, transitioning into that role. And also thankful for the donor who is sponsoring the majority of her salary.
I think that brings up it's such the direct impact that donors can make. So as we mentioned, like therapist salaries, we also extend to staff salaries, and that is a one way that you can really just have a direct venue and know that that trusted person is is really developing. And what is fantastic about the two folks that you've mentioned on our team, that they're coming back. And I think that there's something so special about really our team not wanting to stray too far, that there's something really important and special about Legacy of Hope. And it's so so beneficial to us to know that they're familiar with our work, that they're dedicated, and that they're able to really hit the ground running because they have the previous experiences informing them. So, yeah,
Yeah.
such exciting news
President,
on
I
yeah.
think it definitely talks to or speaks to, Legacy Hope is a family, and we are about, a safe and healthy family for every child. But it's also our family here. And so if you are listening to this, you are part of the Legacy of Hope family. So we are so excited to include you in this wonderful announcement, but also extend this invitation to join us in a new way. And I was thinking, maybe it helps to put some numbers around that. So, a therapist, a psychologist in Honduras, will make about $1,000 to start a month. Okay, so in Honduras, you would think, okay, $1,000 a month, and that's 12 months in the year. But in Honduras, we actually pay 2 extra months of salary. And if you want to know about that, well, let's get on a call. We could talk about that. But we pay a double salary in June, and we pay a double salary at the end of the month. So really, we need 14 months of that $1,000 a month for our psychologist to start. So what is the gap that we are looking at as far as that salary is $14,000 to bring on that new position for a year.
Yeah, it's helpful to frame in our minds of, what does that dollar amount look like? And I think that that is um, a conversation that has to happen in the way that we develop Legacy of Hope more all across every space. So I'm seeing that Rachel has a question here. Are there ever fees for use of the therapy services, or are services always free of cost to children and families? Are there ever fees billed that help balance the costs? It's a great question.
Excellent question. Yeah. So part of the dream and the vision for Nexo Therapy Center is to create sustainability for Legacy of Hope Foundation. So as always, the 250 children a year that we serve through the Legacy of Hope Foundation in the Centro de Paso will receive their services completely free of charge. The community will be served on a sliding scale. So we will have our clients that are able to pay the normal fees. And then we will have some clients that have reduced fees. And then we will have an even lower range for those clients who are really living in uh, poverty conditions, who really cannot afford services. And so we put the minimum amount. And we believe that is important for people to pay even just a little bit, because when something has a cost, it also has a value. And so not to make it a burden, but to create the value of the services. So those are the 3 levels, and that is how it will feed back into Legacy of Hope to provide sustainability.
I think I like what you said about the creating value. There's a space where, in our lives, we can relate to this every day, where it also creates a commitment to what you are embarking on. And I think for the families in our community who have that possibility, it will really solidify that the work is critical, that they are receiving something at that value as well. And so we are I think we really are in a space where the diversity and sort of like flexibility of the way things are billed and the costs that are associated allow us, again, the high personalization that we can offer. I think it also is to any donors who are interested, we can give you better figures on where your money is going directly, and you can always choose where you would like your donation to go. And so we really invite you um, e- to just engage in the spaces that make you feel most excited around Nexo, around Legacy of Hope in general, and all of our work and all of the kids that we serve. We want you to feel like your dollars are going toward what really feeds your soul. And so we're dedicated to that as well. I think um, if you have any further questions for us, we're arriving at the end of our session, and it's been really special to share this space with all of you. And we would love for you to reach out. Our website. You can email either of us or info@legacyofhopefoundation.org. And really engage in our YouTube, our previous Legacy Live sessions. And I'll invite Marianne to share any closing remarks, but we're so grateful for you being here.
Well, what could I say? I think this is a beautiful new chapter for Legacy of Hope, where we are able to open our doors to serve our community in a new way, to really bring healing and care to families and children in a way that is going to not only impact this community, but impact the communities around us in this tri-state region. And um, as a newly licensed therapist, it is so exciting for me to think about having this beautiful space that we can offer healing, but also for me personally, is a space where my children can be received and cared for and provided with the very best therapeutic interventions that are here to offer. And friends, for me as a mom living in Honduras to say that my kids have access to this level of therapeutic intervention is a privilege and a blessing. And I'm just thrilled to be able to offer that to all of the families in our community. And I invite you, as you are listening, to come and join us. This is such an exciting chapter for Legacy of Hope, and I want you to be a part of it and to experience it with us.
Thank you all so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.